My favorite professor of all time was at San Diego State. His name was Harlan Lewin. And he said the first day, he said, if you learn nothing else from me, take a position, period. Don't be wishy-washy. Take a position, even if you're wrong. When you take a position, you'll learn whether you're not right or not. If you don't take a position, you'll never think something through. He said, so I'm teaching you guys, if you never come to a class because you go to the beach here in San Diego instead, take a position. There's no question that the buildings we own today are different because 12 years ago, we had a lot of debt. I had a partner who believed in buying more properties with more debt. And we've since, unfortunately, lost him. He passed away. But during the time that he was sick, he had cancer. And during that time period that he was sick, he and I both learned a very hard lesson, which is if you have debt that's very moderate, when something happens, if a tenant leaves, if there's a pandemic, if there's a global crisis, you can get through anything. And if a tenant can't pay rent, you can make a deal with them to pay some part of rent for some period of time because the bank's not breathing down your neck. So a strong position is, my strongest position is to keep the debt to a minimum and to just focus on having a safer deal rather than, I'd rather have a triple or a double than a home run because of the debt. And I can go case by case by case. Every one of our deals where we ever had any problems, we would not have had that problem with low debt. And we wouldn't have made that much more on the successful ones if we had high debt. We still would have done just fine. Just because you can borrow doesn't mean you should borrow. I just don't think there's any reason to put any pressure on our investors or ourselves to have to pay a bank back. It's not something that I would consider normal for me anymore to have a lot of debt. I consider a lot of debt to be the same as gambling. In real estate, to me, especially in industrial, because you've got a lot of single tenant buildings. At least in apartments, if you have 100 tenants and 7 leave, you're okay. But in industrial, as great as it is for so many reasons, there are many single tenant buildings. And if your tenant's lease comes up and they don't stay, you might have a vacancy. It's very costly. If they go bankrupt, it's very costly because you have to replace them and it's not easy to do sometimes, depends on the economy.